Thank you all for attending and welcome to the Green Schoolworks Technical Assistance Services webinar. We have a fairly short agenda. There will be plenty of time for questions at the end. So we ask if you have any questions to leave them in the Q&A, and we'll do our best to answer any questions live at the end. But for any questions we aren't able to answer, we'll be sure to follow up. Introducing the program team, we have Meg Howard as the program director, Catherine Strauss and Emily Brown as the program managers, and I'll be acting as the program administrator.
Okay, so just to give an overview of Green Schoolworks, as you all probably know, the goal of Green Schoolworks is to help districts and municipalities both plan for and implement moving towards modern, efficient schools. And we are providing technical assistance and implementation funding. Today we'll be talking about the technical assistance, and schools that are eligible and districts that are eligible are those that serve a student population of 40% or more students coming from low-income families in one or more of the last 3 school years. Next slide, please. Thank you. So as an overview of the technical assistance, there's 5 million available for technical assistance services. We are paying vendors directly. So the schools and districts receive services from these vendors. And we released a statement of qualifications for TA vendors and developed a list of pre-approved TA vendors that are able to do the scopes that we'll talk about in a bit. And we're able to approve additional vendors that are not on the approved list. So if you're a school or a district or municipality and you want to work with a partner you've worked with before, you can note that in your enrollment form, and we can approve those on a case-by-case basis. And enrollment is rolling, but I will say that it is a $5 million budget, so it's basically a first come, first serve basis, as long as it's a reasonable and eligible request. Next slide, please. And then in terms of the TA services, we are covering or helping to cover at Mass CEC. That includes the comprehensive building assessments. So these are decarbonization assessments identifying energy efficiency and electrification opportunities for a single building. If you have a building in mind that you know is not efficient or it's reliant on fossil fuels, this is a good place to start. There are also focused studies. So this is a detailed study of a specific energy efficiency and electrification measure that results in actionable savings and cost estimates. So this is like, you want to make a certain retrofit of your building, you want to install a certain technology, but you haven't studied the impacts. This also, in some cases, makes you eligible for Mass Save incentives if you're a Mass Save customer. And then there's the portfolio decarbonization roadmap. So these are exploration of decarbonization strategies at the multiple building scale, potentially an entire school district, and it's like a long-term plan. And then the additional scope that Green Schoolworks is putting forward is on-site renewable energy feasibility analysis and analysis of renewable energy certificates. And then there's also room for additional scope to be approved on a case-by-case basis. So if you're like, I'm doing the CBA and I really need, I'm doing this comprehensive building assessment and I really needed this other technical assistance, just let us know and we can work with you all. Okay, so now I'll walk you through how to apply to if you're able to go to the website, that'd be awesome. So many of you have probably seen our website. If you haven't, this is it. So you'll see there's a button to enroll, a description of the program, and then if you keep scrolling, you see a list of the eligibility, and the link to this is in the chat. Thanks, Catherine. And then here are all the materials. So there's a participant agreement that you'd have to sign to enroll. And then there's a manual to just walk you through the process a bit more. But again, let us know if you have questions. And then there's attachment D, which is the Save scopes that we're building on. And just to note that if you are not a Massive customer, you're still eligible. It's just that the payment works a little bit different, and how you receive services works a little different, which Catherine will go over. And then if you keep scrolling, you'll see the link to our webinar, which here we are. And then there's an approved vendor list. It's a little bit tricky. You just have to hit the caret, and then you'll see a list of technical assistance vendors that are with their contact information. So if you don't see your vendor here, or if you do see one here that you want to work with, let us know. If you're a MassSave customer, you'll be having the conversation with them first about vendors, in most cases. And it's a good opportunity if you're talking with MassSave just to ask or let them know that you're eligible for Green Schoolworks and you want to do the additional Green Schoolworks scope. And us and MassSave have been collaborating behind the scenes to just make sure that's as easy as possible for you all. Thanks. I think that's it on the website.
Great, thanks, Trisha. So I'm just going to talk us through the cost breakdown and the cost shares of the different studies. So for the comprehensive building assessment, if you are a MassSave customer, the estimated cost per task for that is $11,000 to $17,000, and that includes the MassSave base scope of 10 to 15 plus the Green Schoolworks renewable scope of $1,000 to $2,000. And the way that breaks down is that if you choose a pre-qualified MassSave vendor, MassSave is going to cover 100% of the costs of that base scope up to $15,000. If you decide to go with a vendor of your choice, MassSave is going to cover up to 25% of the base scope. For Green Schoolworks, on our side of things, we're going to cover 100% of the cost of the Green Schoolworks renewable scope, and that's true for all of the different studies. That's an add-on that you can add if you're doing any of the studies. You can add that on. If you are choosing a MassSave pre-qualified vendor, we'll cover any portion of the base scope that might go above that $15,000 that's not covered by MassSave. And again, if you go with a vendor of your choice, we'll cover 50% of what the school or district's copay would be. I think big picture is basically if you choose a MassSave pre-qualified vendor, there'll be no cost to you for any of this work. And just to know, I don't know if there are any municipal light plant territory customers here, but if you're not a MassSave customer, MassCEC is going to pay for 100% of the cost of the task, whether or not your selected vendor is a pre-qualified MassSave vendor, because obviously that doesn't apply to you. You'll be using the Green Schoolworks pre-qualified vendor list that Emily showed us in the last slide. So for focus studies, again, there's the MassSave base scope cost plus the Green Schoolworks cost, or the Green Schoolworks renewable scope cost. For this one, MassSave is going to pay up to 50% of the total base scope if you're using a pre-qualified vendor, and 25% if you're using a vendor of your choice. And for Green Schoolworks, will cover 50% of the total cost of the base scope. So essentially the remaining 50% plus anything that goes above and beyond that base scope. And then if you're choosing a vendor not on the list, then 50% of the participants copay, and that's going to be on a case-by-case basis or depending on different factors like cost. And again, with this, if you're big picture, if you're using a pre-qualified Mass Save vendor, there's no cost to the school or district. And then the Green Schoolworks Renewable Scope can also be chosen or selected as a standalone study. So maybe you've already done a comprehensive building assessment and you are just interested in doing a solar analysis. So you could enroll just for the Green Schoolworks Renewable Scope. And again, there would be no cost to the participant. Green Schoolworks would cover 100% of that cost. And then the portfolio decarbonization roadmap, this one's a little bit different. As you can see, it is the most expensive study because it covers hypothetically all of the buildings in a district. It's a very in-depth study. And so, you know, due to the fact that it is so expensive, if you're enrolling, if that's the study you're requesting, we'll be approving those on a case-by-case basis. And that will be, you know, a further conversation between us and the organization who's enrolling, plus, you know, Mass Save and the vendor. And so that, you know, if that's what you're interested in, definitely still enroll for it. Just know that that will be part of a further discussion. And then here's using a comprehensive building assessment as an example, a scenario of what those cost breakdowns might look like. So if you're choosing a Mass Save vendor, again, Mass Save is going to cover the full amount of that base scope, and Green Schoolworks will cover, in the green, will cover the cost of the Green Schoolworks renewable scope, and there's no cost to the school or district. If you're going with the non-Mass Save vendor, Mass Save in that blue box is going to cover up to 25% of the cost of the base scope. Mass CEC in the green is going to cover 50% of the participants copay, and then that's the school or district is left with that remaining 25%, that $3,125. And then if you are a participant in a municipal light plant territory, Green Schoolworks, Mass CEC, is going to cover the full cost of those studies.